really went in there with the intention that this thing isn't going to be anything. Let's go in, let's clear the document, move the country forward. That was what the sheriff wanted. And it was like 24 hours later, I had to call the sheriff and say, we're going to have a problem here. We're 21 months into this now, and I can tell you this. We believe 100% that the document is a created, 100% fabricated birth certificate. It is not real. As a matter of fact, to use the word document is erroneous. This needs to go to Congress. That's what Sheriff Arpaio has been asking for, and I'm in the process of trying to get it there.
You were already there on the cold case, dealing with serious crimes, Mike, so you didn't even ask for this. It was thrown in your lap by Sheriff Arpaio. So break down the saga, what it's been like, what's going on, the certified people that you've had, some of the top forensic experts in the country, the criminal case that's coming up, the Supreme Court of Alabama. From as best you know, what's going on here, and what should the viewers know out there, the listeners know, because you know what MSNBC is going to do. They'll probably play a clip of this and go, they're crazy, and, they're saying our dear leader is a fraud, but that's all they say. They say we're crazy. What's really going on?
Well, Sheriff Arpaio did take this on, and we really went in there with the intention that this thing isn't going to be anything. Let's go in, let's clear the document, move the country forward. That was what the sheriff wanted. And it was like 24 hours later, I had to call the sheriff and say, we're going to have a problem here. We're 21 months into this now, and I can tell you this. We believe 100% that the document is a created, 100% fabricated birth certificate. It is not real. As a matter of fact, to use the word document is erroneous. It is a PDF file. It never started its life as a paper document. It was built inside a computer. Other documents were scanned in, and pieces of those documents were then utilized to create this fabrication. It's the only birth certificate I'm aware of that has 9 links and 9 layers. The only document that I'm aware of that the registrar's stamp that gives its official authenticity has been imported into that document. It comes in vertical. It's rotated 90 degrees horizontal and placed on the document. And you can move it all over the place. That document is a forgery. And if that document is a forgery, what was offered to the American people is absolutely nothing, Alex. What it really says is there is no proof on that birth narrative. There's no proof that Obama Sr. is the father, and there's no proof that Stanley Ann Dunham is the mother. There's no other information to back up those claims.
Why is it so fake? What do you think's going on? Is it meant to be a diversion? What is it?
I don't really think it's meant to be a diversion, and I've heard that argument. What I think happened here, I think somebody either made a mistake or in haste, they put out the wrong file. And when it hit the internet through the White House servers, it was about 20 minutes. 130,000 some odd people had downloaded.
They didn't flatten it. They didn't flatten it.
They didn't flatten it. It was done in error. Now they have to live with this. And if you notice the way they've been handling this is they don't say anything about it. They let the little minions do it. I think there's something very nefarious going on here. And I think part of the reason why you see no action on it, which is, you've been saying for a long time, I think NSA is the reason why you see no action on this. I think they've got dirt on people that they shouldn't have any.
Well, that's now coming out, yeah.
Well, you can control a lot of people with that kind of stuff. Well, and I'll tell you that Rupert Murdoch, and I know you know Jerry Corsi very well. When I was working closely with Jerry on this in the beginning, Jerry received information of what was going to happen to Rupert Murdoch, and I am watching it unfold. So this stuff is in a mix. These guys are planning things out. They are taking actions that have been designed months, years ago. Putting into play. Getting
back to the birth certificate, going over this criminal complaint, what's the greatest hits of this document that people should know about and where this is going?
Well, you have a document that's comprised of 9 layers, and what it was really designed to do, the intent of it is to deceive. The intent of this document was to fool the unsuspecting public, to give you a document, and I do believe it was a precursor to Jerry Corsi's book, Where's the Birth Certificate? I believe they were concerned that book was going to come out, and they launched this document. But what this really says is, we don't really care what we show you. We're just going to show you something, and we're going to expect you to believe it. And if you look into his narrative, that's everything you've been fed. You see photographs, you're told these are the players. You see a photograph, you're told this is where I was or this is who I was sitting with, and you're expected to believe this. But when you start looking into some of those photographs themselves have been digitally altered. If they had flattened this document, probably the only argument would have been the fonts, and it would have gone nowhere because every document examiner tells you, we can't tell you that unless we see an original. Our document examiner, who happens to be a court-certified 20 years in business, actually worked for Perkins Coie as a certified document examiner. This is the law firm that represents Obama on every one of these issues.
Wow.
Going to be difficult for them to overcome that. And when he tells you it is a 100% fabrication, you could take that to the bank. It's a 100% fabrication. It was not 24 hours after the release of this birth certificate, mainstream media, Fox News, nobody would talk about this issue anymore. And I have individuals, and I cannot divulge who they are for fear of their losing their occupation, in that genre that told me straight out, we were threatened. If we talk about this any longer, we're going to be fired. So you don't have a free press anymore. When you don't have a free press, how do you vet a president? This man has never been vetted. This man has never gone through the ringer of being vetted. You know, and with Sheriff Arpaio, it's kind of like a joke in his office. I say, you know, Sheriff, he can't pass the background check to be the janitor in your jail.
And tell us about this criminal complaint. What's going on with this case in Alabama?
Alabama was actually an elections case that was done way before we got involved with the Alabama thing. What happened over there is, I guess, Judge Moore, the Ten Commandments judge, has got this now in the Supreme Court. And the Alabama Democratic Party put in what's called an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief. And they attempted to put forth accusations against the evidence that was introduced by Attorney Larry Klayman in this case regarding the birth certificate. So Mr. Klayman had called me up and he asked me if I would do him a favor and put together a rebuttal document, an affidavit about the investigation, what I could tell him at this point. And that's what I did. I believe that's about 30 pages, 100 some odd points of interest are in there. And I think it would behoove everyone who's watching this that has an interest in this, read this. This is a sworn affidavit that I submitted to a superior court. That means I could be held liable for perjury. If anything in here.
And then what's this criminal complaint I'm hearing about?
Well, the criminal complaint, we're trying to put together a criminal case, trying to bring about a criminal complaint. The problem with this is, you know, this has only come to us 21 months ago, and to everybody it seems like an eternity. But when you're trying to put together information like this to bring forth these kind of charges, you have normally the assistance of other law enforcement authorities, especially federal authorities. We don't have that in this. We can't call up the FBI and ask them for help.
Now you're having to go through hell just to get each little piece.
Every piece, and everything takes time. And
everything takes money.
Money and time. And what I have to do is, you know, even like I think I told you earlier, you were the first video I ever saw of anything with this, and you guys were taking apart the document. Well, every step that you did, I have to ×3 go get that analyzed to make sure it's correct. And then we could put that into our report and use this information.
Well, that was just our quick analysis of it, dealing with videos, dealing with Photoshop, dealing with documents. We have some folks that have worked in documents, and we just knew when they said, oh, it's always in layers. It's not in layers unless it was originally in layers, meaning it's a made-up document. It'd be one layer. It'd be the image of the document, and then we saw the fonts and all of it and just said, this looks really suspicious. Were we accurate?
Yeah, you were accurate, very accurate. Especially the layering thing. You're going to have people try to put forth theories that the layering could be done because of automated processes and software. Well, we have extensively researched out. We put this document through 1,200 computerized tests, trying to get a replication of the Obama document, and you can't do it.
So they drop the ball massively, and we do that all the time when we're doing an article and we think it's right, but we publish it and then it doesn't all go up, or there's a problem, or all of it, you know, and we're not doing fraud. It's just a bunch of articles and documents. It'll get scrambled, and then one time we had a bunch of traffic to the site. We couldn't get it down to put up the right one for like 2 hours, and people thought we put out a messed up document on purpose. But again, with this, they just jumped the gun, or what happened?
Well, I can't tell you what exactly happened there. What we know is this, that document sat in a Mac computer 20 minutes before it was uploaded to the White House website server in a program called Preview. And that's of a particular interest to us.
Because it has timestamps?
Yes, but Preview has a capability of erasing what's called metadata from other programs. So the other programs that were used to create that document, they suspected or thought that it was going to erase all that information, and all you're left would be is Preview and the PDF file itself. Our forensic experts were actually able to go in and find remnants of metadata that then told us what other programs were in fact used.
And for folks that don't know, it's just like photos on a card that get wiped. You can put them into a program that actually resurrects them.
Resurrects it. And so we know how the document was put together. We know what processes were done to put the document together. That's in this document. Break down for folks that aren't experts in this, basically what was done. Basically, the document started itself, like I said, as a computer file. What they did is they took other source documents. Now, you have to realize they took other birth certificates, real ones, scanned them into a computer, and then systematically took information from different documents to create the PDF image that everybody saw released when the president released it. They painstakingly lifted date stamps. They painstakingly lifted words and letters on words in a cut and paste fashion to lay this upon layer to give you an impression of a complete document when it was done, even going as far as replicating the green safety paper computerized. So they make it look to you as if this is real, but it's not. And when you take apart those layers, you could actually take those layers, turn them on and off, and you can see exactly what was moved. Why didn't Obama or his people just go to the CIA that are experts in making documents fake that you can't even tell? I'm thinking that this was done on a lower level than that. Let me say this. I am concerned that the person that may have put this document together for them may have been, and for lack of a better word, I mean, no disrespect to nobody, where if something were to happen to that person, sure, you want to keep this close to your vest because this is blackmailable if you have an agency do it. That's why they always create corporations, private groups outside of it, so they can even keep that secret from the government. Yeah, and you make something happen to that one individual that put it together, nobody's going to pay any attention to it. So we should be looking, and I know that's what Dr. Corsi's been doing, at people in and around the White House that might have been falling down, hitting their heads. Look at everybody. I read the paper every day looking to see if something happened to somebody. We have some people of interest, and we're keeping tabs on them. You know, this is real. This is not a fake game that's being played here. And that birth certificate, that is nothing more than an error. They released that in error, and I think the American people have the right to know who their president is and where he was born. I like to interview everybody that ever came in contact with this document, and I don't want to call it a document anymore, this file. It's an electronic file. It is not a paper document. It doesn't happen on this document. The letter spacing is uneven. The word spacing is uneven on many lines. The line spacing varies 1 to 3 points, being either too long or too short. This information is obtained from a typesetter who, for his lifetime career, was typesetting things as terrible as math books. You have to know what you're doing to typeset a math book. I'm sure I doodled in a couple of his in my day. There is the distinct possibility, and we're looking into it a little further, that the registrar stamp may not have even been done by the official metal embossing stamp that it should have been. The certificate numbers are out of sequence compared to the date numbers issued by the same Department of Health only 3 days later. Federal mandate, it is consecutive numbering. This one isn't. There is the presence of a graphic image feature calling unsharp mask on Obama's certificate of live birth. It's a software feature that's found in Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. That could be one of the reasons for the white halo, but the white halo really shouldn't be there. There is also a difference in the colors of the text. There's a difference in the letter A on one line compared to the letter A on another. The letter H on one line compared to the letter H on another. Now, I hate to break the bubble.
This will be what we call a technically complex press conference, and all of us here have endeavored to make it as easy to